Hello everybody, welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another video with the UFL recap, power rankings, prediction, triple three-peat here for UFL every week on the dot, somewhere around Wednesday. I will be uploading these videos, kind of give you a quick recap of the previous week, power rankings where I think these teams kind of land, and there are 18 power rankings, and then predictions for the next week based on what I know. So going into this one, it's a lot of interesting stuff to actually talk about here, and honestly some pretty good ball play too. I'm very excited about what the UFL has already provided, and I'm excited to jump right into it. Before we get started, please leave a like down below and give any suggestions in the comments down below, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. See you guys into the video. Alright, so we're going to get right into our recaps of all four of the games, and on screen now you see the Birmingham Stallions and the Arlington Renegades. Some things to take away here. The Birmingham Stallions definitely had a rough first half, or maybe more so first quarter, but it wasn't great for the Stallions at first. Renegades actually were doing really well, put up some stats here, and then all of a sudden the Birmingham Stallions just kind of ran away with the game, or stampeded through the game in the second half. Renegades really tried in the first half, and I really thought, man, can the Renegades actually be a legit team? And then in the second half, they just kind of were really lackluster. So looking at everything, I know it's a lot to take in on this little the screen right here, but let's look on the stat line over here. So a lot of total yards, of course, was definitely in the Stallions' advantage. Passing yards, roughly the same. Rushing yards, though, Stallions were running that ball. As soon as they were able to, actually be able to run the ball a whole lot more, they started doing it, and they did really well with it. Penalties, whatever, not really gonna look at that. First downs, though, they also converted a lot of first downs. Third down conversions, roughly the same, of course. Fourth down, only once the Stallions went for it. Total plays, of course, again, comes with all that. And everything else is kind of interesting enough. Time possessions, roughly the same. 33 minutes of basically 27. It's not too bad either way. There was a fumble loss from the Renegades that was unfortunate for them. Turnovers, of course, was about even, I think, actually. So, curious enough, and actually love how they have defensive points, defensive points off. I'm not too sure exactly what that means, but I'm assuming that's how many points the turnover basically gave up. So, curious. We'll look at the Stallions first. Matt Corral. I believe that's the first. Yeah, Matt Corral. Not the most impressed, but not like the least impressed either. He did well. He did fine in the pocket. Just felt a little lackluster compared to what I think he's capable of doing. But he did what he needed to. Only turn over the ball once, so got to give him credit where credit's due. I need to start learning these players' first names. I wish it would like tell me. Oh, whoops! I think I accidentally clicked something. But Marble. Was just efficient on the ground. 3.7 is not great. Martinez, when he came in though, and was not just throwing the ball, he was actually running. So really dang good when he came in. Not Aaron Rodgers. Also ran for 8 yards. I think it's kind of funny. Well, Kane was the leading receiver there, 66 yards and a touchdown. But only 3. Like, this is kind of low receptions overall. It feels like for all these players. It feels like very spread out onto the Stallions. So that's just kind of an observation I made. I'm gonna make myself a little bigger. I feel like I'm a little too small for you guys. I feel like this is very weird of a receiving offense. I feel like you normally see, at least in the NFL, that's what I'm used to. So I'm not too sure how college stats line up. That this would kind of be less distributed on 3 and up. So this feels a little curious, especially 27 points, which I know is now a little bit different. So I can't just use my simple math of remembering, oh, this is how many touchdowns they got, because they can also get 1, 2, or 3 points afterwards, which typically they go for 2, it seems like. But beside the point. Interesting enough from the Stallions here. And CJ Marble, look at that. I can actually kind of get that, what's it called, the total stuff from it. And actually, how did I get away from it? Where the heck? Now I'm just on the Stallions, right? Well, this is strange. I don't want to be here. Game? There we go. Maybe. There we go. Looking at the Renegades, though, Perez leading the backfield, kind of similar to Matt Corral, was able to be more consistent with the ball, a little bit more shorter passes, and was able to kind of control the board a little bit. It just seemed like in the second half, he just didn't have the wow factor that was able to keep them in the game. And it's unfortunate. The run game got nothing going. And again, this kind of spread out. It's a double head backfield, it looks like, for Brown and Smith. Receiving wise, again, this is a little bit more of what I would expect from Burnett and Canella, both kind of taking the leading receptions, which by the way, this is not being sorted by yards or something. Kind of also, I guess it's receptions, whatever. You get it. Is curious. So I'm curious to see how this actually goes in the forward. It does seem like they use their tight end a little bit more than the Stallions do. So it's kind of just a little curious observation I made. But overall, their offense really couldn't get anything going into the second half. Looking at defense, I'm not really familiar with any of these players. Just about, but the Stallions didn't really do much. I'll be honest with you. The Stallions defense kind of weren't the best. A forced fumble, I believe, and they got the fumble recovery, of course, but no interceptions, no 1 interception, and about 2 sacks, I believe. So it's not sorted. So actually, little totals right here. Didn't even realize. And Renegades didn't do much better either. It seems like it was kind of a stalemate offense or stalemate defenses for a while. So one sack, one tackle for loss, and 2 interceptions. Yeah, 2 interceptions from the Arlington Renegades, because Matt Corral only threw 1, but I believe one of the other guys threw 1 as well. So curious, Renegades definitely hurt their stock a little bit here. Stallions looked okay, but this is kind of a rough game for 2 of the top teams. And I think a lot of other teams started moving up their stock a little bit going forward. So kind of going to the next one, it's actually St. Louis Battlehawks and Michigan Panthers. This one, it was fun, but also not fun, you know? Like, it felt like at times it was like really, really explosive and really fun to watch, but at other times it felt like it was just like a drag. So either they were doing something big, or there was just, you know, something kind of like a drag. McCarron, I believe is how you say his first name, or last name, sorry, was actually really good. I'm actually very impressed with the Battlehawks and their offensive strategy in the air. I think they did really well. They have a lot of different people who got the ball a lot. Aitman really ate it up. Haha, get it? Shepard also, though, had a lot of targets. I believe, yeah, 8 targets. Wow. So I think that this receiving team from the Battlehawks can be really, really dangerous. They just got to get more consistent, and maybe more consistent with the explosiveness of their team. Rushing yards, gosh dang, though. I mean, they struggled at times. It's just, they don't have a run team. I don't know if it's offensive line, but then again, I don't think McCarron got sacked too much, so I'm not too sure what's up with the Battlehawks there, but they need to have more of a rushing offense instead of just throwing the ball up 37 times, which granted, they were, you know, basically having to come back in the 4th quarter, I believe. Either way, Perry was not very impressive at all. This is also the weird part, is that the St. Louis Battlehawks, when they threw the ball, were great. When the Michigan Panthers ran the ball, they were great. Because look, I mean, Hills got 11 attempts for 85 yards, 7.7 on average, 24 long. But he just kept on battling through it. Every time it felt like he got 7+ yards, and then all of a sudden, you know, they go away from it and they have to throw the ball some more. So that was just a strange turn of events for him. Again, the Michigan Panthers offense with their receiving wise just did not do anything much. So it's just unfortunate. Again, if you look at total yards, pretty similar across the board. Neither one of the teams really ran away with the game. It just felt like a really big drag. The 4th quarter, I will say, again, if you look at, especially if you look at the score here, was kind of interesting here. Michigan Panthers did pull it away just barely. Battlehawks thought they had it, and then boom, Michigan Panthers came in, won the game. Which is actually really cool. Both these teams, I think, look like they have a lot of potential to do well. It's just that it was just something. Puka Nacua, no, I'm kidding. Nacua got 1 sack. Sorry, this saw Nacua, and I was like, gotta go for it. Now, defensively, again, we're kind of lacked in offense. The defense actually did step up. So as much as I hate defensive games at times, it was like, you know, pretty good for the Michigan Panthers. Of course, turnovers was pretty heavy, 2 and then 0 on that side. I guess there's just 2 interceptions from the Michigan Panthers, which, by the way, turning over the ball twice and still winning, pretty impressive. So the St. Louis Battlehawks have to have their defense step up a little bit more if they want to be able to stay in this. Because they basically only have the passing going well, while the Panthers are across the board. Their defense did really, really good. And again, that's maybe it is the offensive line, but it's only 2 sacks still, or 3 sacks, my bad, and a lot of tackles for loss. So I think it's a lot of the run game with offensive line instead of the pass protection. So either way, again, a little bit of drag at times, but honestly, not the worst ball game I've ever watched in my life. This may be one of the worst, not worst, I shouldn't say worst, one of the least interesting or less invested games I've been into, because I started watching this and the Brahmas, I mean, it was just kind of like a good first quarter, and all of a sudden the Brahmas started slowly gaining momentum over DC defenders, and I feel like DC defenders never could get anything going past the first quarter, and even then the first quarter they really didn't do much. So it's very curious. Again, looking at their stats here, I mean, they couldn't get anything going in the run game, and they couldn't get anything going in the pass game. Receiving wise, of course, they were able to give Scott the ball a whole lot. But otherwise, I mean, this team just could not get anything going, could not find the end zone for the life of them. Pretty much all came from field goals for the DC defenders, which was very unfortunate. Well, the Brahmas ran away with this game, not literally, because they didn't have a run game either. You know, you would think that at least they would have something going on, especially if they were leading for a majority of the game, which I guess they weren't leading by a lot for a majority of the game until like the 4th quarter. But still, they were doing really, really good. But their just pass game was just fine, you know? Like, you know when you watch a game and you see a quarterback just doing okay, it's like, okay, cool. I guess Garber's just doing all right. It just was nothing like offensively, it just wasn't anything loving. Kirkland, though, seems to be one of the best receivers in this league. I will say that he made some amazing plays there, and just was very consistent, always open. And I don't know if that's a credit against DC defenders or credit for the Brahmas, but either way, looking again, if you look at all this, I mean, they're pretty similar. Honestly, the Brahmas in 3rd down conversions were way worse. let's see, what was the time of possession? Again, roughly the same. Maybe I should like be more harsh when it comes to like 33 minutes versus 27 minutes, but still, Brahmas had less time of possession and they won by a decent margin. It just was a weird game. DC Defenders are just not the team that I thought they were going to be this year. And looking at the Brahmas stats here, I didn't really realize this, but they have a freaking ton of sacks. 4 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. 1 interception for DC Defenders. Well, at least DC Defenders do have 5 tackles for loss. Didn't realize it was that much, to be honest with you. But it's just curious. I don't know what to think of the DC Defenders at this point. They just really couldn't get anything going. Well, the Brahmas actually looked like they could do something. It just wasn't wow factor, but they were just consistently keeping the lead. That's what you kind of need to do. So maybe that's what you need to do to win this game. It's interesting enough. And also, a game that I think that I had fun with this game. I like the Showboats versus Roughnecks just because it felt like more of like I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know who was going to win. Showboats, of course, had the what's it called, touchdown in the beginning, and all of a sudden they kind of just spiraled from there, or just went from there. But there was kind of Roughnecks playing house, but the Roughnecks also didn't look like they were behind the whole game. It just felt like they had some catching up to do, I guess is the best way to put it. The Roughnecks never felt like they were out of it, which made it more interesting, but the Showboats also didn't play very well past like the first half. The second half they didn't play well at all. But either way, interesting enough, Cookus, I think that's how you say his first name or his last name, seemed to do well for the Showboats. Run game for both these teams sucked, and honestly, Garetano whatever, was just consistent. It was fine, but he just didn't make any wow plays. That's what I've realized from a lot of these players, is that none of them have the star-studded factor that the NFL does, which is fine. It's a different league. I have to get used to what stat lines I'm used to and seeing. Right now, I only have the NFL to compare it to. Looking at receiving again, it was just consistent across the board. This is very few receivers feel like they're big and targeted. I guess Davis, I mean, if you look, he got 10 targets, so should be the big guy. But honestly, I didn't notice. You know, in this game, I just didn't notice. Maybe it was because I was also tuned in and out, but beside the point. Roughnecks were trailing behind for most of these stats for a majority of the time. I mean, this time of possession's that's the kind of time of possession that shows like you should lose by a decent margin, but they still kept it within 1 score, which I think it's 8 points or 9 points. 9 points is like the most you can score in a single go. So curious enough, stat wise, defensively, Showboats did really well. Honestly, the Roughnecks also did well. That's why I liked it. Like 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 1 interception. Pretty good for them. Well, the Showboats didn't get any turnovers. Okay, I guess they got fumble turnovers, I believe. But 4 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. Again, it was just a gritty defensive battle, and honestly, that's what I liked about it. It felt like it was always up in your face, like they were going at it more than it was like the flashiness. So I enjoyed this game too, but definitely all these games had a different vibe to them. I'm still getting used to them. And I like the style of play they're all putting forward. It's just something to get used to when I'm making observations and comparing the games like I do with NFL games. So we'll see how it goes going forward, but I say a good first week. The only game I really didn't like was probably DC and San Antonio Brahmas. I guess in its own way it had its own little charm too. But either way, now we gotta get right into the power rankings and see how all this actually affected them. Alright, I'm going to hide myself from this one temporarily just because otherwise you won't be able to see the whole board. But either way, week 2 going into power rankings and predictions. And this is what I have. And this was a hard one just because I'm trying to get used to what exactly am I kind of expecting from each of these teams. And we'll start from 8 and go up. So the Battlehawks of the teams that I had expectations for, they were at 6, now they're at 8. They just did not have the wow factor I expected their team to have. They were bad in every category except for pretty much passing. They faced off against a team they should have done well against. And I just don't know, or at least competed well against. I shouldn't say do well against, I guess. But they just did not show me anything, it felt like. And even though their team I really liked, it just felt like the Showboats and Brahmas were easily showed more. And it just led to me saying, all right, I guess they're in 8th for now. I expect them to go up more, but like right now, I think of the teams I watched this week, or this weekend, I should say, they were the one that kind of fell flat. The Brahmas, though, I think that they have made a lot more moves than it feels like they did, but like, they were just so, I mean, I was sold against them so hard that from 8 to 7 feels really good. I think their team did really, really good. I think the Showboats did well enough just to stay ahead of them. Meanwhile, I don't think the Roughnecks fell that hard, and the DC Defenders were way too far up for them to really be impacted by the Brahmas, per se. Because I'm trying to keep it still fair. I'm actually trying to condense it to 8 and make it feel grittier and harder to move up. So Brahmas at number 7 here, I think it's okay for now. I think I want to see more from them, especially consistency. Showboats, though, also liked really a little bit. Like I said, honestly, it was a tough choice whether I want to get Brahmas +2 and just keep the Memphis Showboats at 7. But I think they did well enough, kind of comparing the stats, comparing who they played, and all that good stuff. I think they deserve the number 6 spot for now, but they're super close to the Brahmas at this point. Roughnecks, they're like a tiny bit edging up of the Showboats and Brahmas. I wasn't that impressed with them, but also I recognize it's 1 week, 1 game. They didn't do horrible. They really didn't move much in my mind. It's just that like I was just not wowed. So we'll see how they really do going forward. But I think just going -1 for now and keeping them at 5 is more than reasonable. I think a +3 jump is going to be like a big jump here versus like +1, -2 kind of being more common ones. -2 is a little aggressive too, I'd say. But speaking, well, I guess not speaking of +2, but it's DC Defenders going down 1. Again, I had high expectations for them. I'm willing to give them a week buffer. I think the Panthers deserve to go above them, just barely probably, but DC Defenders just didn't look good. They showed a little bit of what they can are capable of doing, but just was not good at all. It was not a good showing for them, and they really need to step it up. Otherwise, Roughnecks, Showboats, and Brahmas are easily could be in that range of kind of taking their top spot or number 4 spot from the Defenders. Meanwhile, the Michigan Panthers were the team that wowed me the most this week. I think they definitely deserve the +2, and honestly, they might be a serious contender. I think I maybe slept on them a little bit going into the preseason or going into the season, but they are a team that is scary and could win games pretty easily. So Michigan Panthers +2 going to 3 with DC Defenders and Roughnecks doing badly. I think this is an easy choice for me. Michigan Panthers at number 3. That kept the Stallions and Renegades in the same spots, and here's kind of my justification for it. And I kind of said that I only liked the Michigan Panthers game. Honestly, I loved the Stallions and Renegades game. Not because, and it feels like it was like it looks like it was a runaway game. It really wasn't. It just felt like the first half was so competitive. Going into the second half, and then like that third quarter, the Stallions started going away with it, and the fourth quarter was pretty much solidified. So there's 3 quarters of really competitive, good back and forth play, and the Renegades kind of lost it more in the fourth quarter than it was the second half. So I think the Renegades did really well, considering I think the Stallions are a damn good team, and the Stallions showed that they were a good team. They just got to show more consistency throughout the whole game. And I think both these teams deserve the spots right now. Renegades did go down a decent bit, but like I just could not justify giving the Michigan Panthers a 2 spot. I think the Renegades, how they played and how I think they are capable of doing. Like I was someone who did not think the Renegades were going to do well this season, and this showed me I might be wrong. I'm curious going into this what the how the Renegades actually are going to go moving forward, because they were 4-6 last season and they made the playoff run. They won the championship, so. Could this be a big stellar game? I mean, I don't know. This is also a game I really enjoyed. I think it was a great opener to the UFL. So I'm curious to see how all these teams kind of line up. But I think these are all fair rankings for now. And let me know what you think of those rankings. I do have predictions, though. I do have to kind of showcase. Okay, good. I did put my animations on. Sometimes I don't put my animations on. I forget about that. Going into this, so this is the week 2 lineup right now. The Brahmas are going to Memphis to face off against Showboats. The Renegades going to St. Louis against Battlehawks, Stallions against Panthers, Roughnecks against Defenders. And kind of just initial thoughts, the Brahmas versus the Showboats. It's a close matchup. I think I could see this going either way, but I think the Brahmas did kind of impress me, and I think I'm going to get the edge to the Brahmas here, purely just because I think their defense was so good, while the Memphis Showboats feel like the most, about average team. I feel like the Memphis Showboats are just fine in every category. Run game for all these teams really sucked, except for one of them. I'm losing track of which teams did really well, but there's one good run game offense. But I think the Brahmas are going to have their number, and I think the Showboats are going to leave with another L, or with an L. I shouldn't say another L because they won. Either way, Renegades versus Battlehawks, and by the way, I should say the Brahmas have a -1.5 advantage here. Renegades versus Battlehawks, and man, the Renegades are a +4 unfavorites here, and I believe honestly they're going to take the win from them. I think with the momentum Battlehawks have against them, I think they're going to take the L. I didn't see anything that I loved from the Battlehawks, and the Renegades I saw a lot of love. So I'm pretty confident in saying the Renegades are going to win this game, but we'll see. Maybe the Battlehawks will surprise me. I didn't see much potential for them to win this game, to be honest with you, but crazier things have happened. Renegades are my choice at winning the second game. You got the Stallions at the Panthers, and I'm going to go Stallions. I think I'm going to go Stallions for a hot minute now. There's not many teams I'd probably pick over them. It would have to be them going away game, but Renegades against the Renegades I picked them, and now against Panthers, who I think is the 3rd best team. I just think I got to, and it's a -6.5 favorites for the Stallions, which is kind of surprising. I don't know if that's just because they think the Stallions are that good or the Panthers are just that bad, but I don't know if I agree with that line. I think the Panthers have a lot more fight in them than people believe, but the Stallions are just a different kind of beings. I don't know, it's crazy. And I haven't given up on the DC Defenders yet because the line's still very favorable for the DC Defenders, -5. So we'll see. Both these teams are kind of in that mid category, they need to gain some momentum in my eyes. But DC Defenders, I think are going to take this dub. I think they need to, and I think they have the team they're capable of doing it. Or Roughnecks, I really didn't see any of that going into the season or from that game. I didn't see anything that wowed me. So I think DC Defenders easily take this game. So I was 1-3 in the first week, so maybe don't trust all my predictions. But I am enjoying my evolution of what this thought process is for each of these teams going into the games. Either way, though, I can now finally show my camera again, I guess, because of my ability to now show. I guess I could have showed it in this whole prediction thing. Oh well, that sucks. Either way, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed covering the UFL and kind of just overall things. This is going to be a roughly 20-minute video, which is kind of nice. It's like right where I want it to be. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. StraightA Dawson is out of here. See you guys later.